Tim, why did you make the iPad so thin? Good morning! You know, it really matters for engineering to make it as lightweight as possible. Then why have you made the iPhone so thick over the years? Well, you know, we did have some concerns about, structural integrity, so in order to better and further the iPhone experience, we had to increase the thickness a little bit. If that matters, why not make the iPads a little bit thicker? Maybe increase the battery life? Well, our talented hardware team has actually found a way to keep the same structural integrity despite making it a thinner device. Okay, Tim, but the battery life on the iPad hasn't changed in 10 years. It honestly feels like you just want us to buy all new accessories so that the old pencil and the old case doesn't work anymore and we have to buy a whole new iPad to access the latest tech. Oh my gosh, that's a really good point. I didn't think of that. You really didn't think of that? No, I really didn't think that by making thinner products, people will have to buy new tech. We should be making iPhones thinner again. Oh god, no, Tim, that's not what I meant. Actually, don't touch the iPhone. They're fine. Oh, Mr. Turnus! We need a thinner iPhone! It's the Steve Jobs era all over again. We haven't talked much about the next generation iPhones, but we've talked even less about the next generation iPhones. But according to some new leaks from The Information, Apple may have some tricks up its sleeve that we're not all gonna be too happy about. For one, just a brief little recap on what to expect this September with the iPhone 16 lineup. The 16 Pro Max and 16 Pro are just getting a little bit bigger, and then regular iPhone 16 and 16 Plus should be the same as the 15 and 15 Plus. But the numbers have been saying for quite some time now that those Plus model iPhones have not been selling all that well, and I can't say I'm surprised. They're just too dang expensive and too close in price to the Pro models that most people just end up going for the Pro anyway. And of course that made me have hope that maybe they'll go back to making mini iPhones again, because I love the mini iPhones. So comfortable, so compact, and still able to pack such a great punch in regards to premium features and great cameras. But no, of course that sounds like Apple's already gone down that route and realized, well, Plus iPhones don't sell that great, and the mini iPhones don't sell that great. So Apple's trying to figure out what is this potential fourth iPhone option going to be, and because the sales have been so great for the 15 Pro Max, this is really all of our fault, guys. We're encouraging Apple's behavior here. It's resulting in them probably wanting to go higher than the Pro Max model, which we should have saw this coming with there being an Apple Watch Ultra and an M-Chip Ultra. Who knows what they're actually going to call it, but there's a lot of talk now about Apple doing kind of a iPhone 10 style revamp where they kind of fundamentally rethink the iPhone form factor a bit with a big redesign. Now, personally, from the leaks that The Information is reporting, I don't think this is the same amount of changes as an iPhone 10 level redesign, but they're claiming that the screen will go even bigger than the Pro Max, so we're easily talking, you know, over 7-inch display for an iPhone, which is kind of nutty, but likely razor thin bezels to compensate for it. And because probably a lot of you are bringing up that first concern of an iPhone that big is that's going to be a chunk boy. That thing's going to be heavy. But The Information is saying that they want to redesign the internals of the iPhone to make it much more thin, like significantly thinner than it currently is, which I already think is not really that bad. But maybe if we're comparing it to the latest generation iPad Pros at like 5mm thin, then yeah, I suppose the iPhone is a little bit chunk, but most of us, I thought, were okay with that for better battery life, better cameras, better rigidity. But if Apple's trying to double down on their material science, try to make iPads and devices thinner again, honestly really does feel like the Steve Jobs days are coming back, then maybe by making a significantly thinner iPhone, they can keep the weight down while increasing the screen size, which year over year appears to be what the buying behavior of the general public is encouraging Apple to do. Make your screens bigger and charge more for the phone, because we kind of live on these things. We're all addicted to the dopamine rushes they give us, which means we just gotta go big or go home. So the iPhone 17 lineup essentially might look a little bit bizarre, where we have two Pro iPhones, the 17 Pro and the 17 Pro Max, probably coming in at 6.3 and 6.9 inches, and I'm sure they'll have great cameras and all that. And then we'll just have one entry-level iPhone 17, maybe around 6.1 inches. Also, keep in mind the iPhone 17 lineup is where they are rumored to bring the ProMotion 120Hz display down to the cheaper model. pixel. So hopefully we'll all stop complaining about 60 hertz by then. We'll have something else to complain about. So you'll have your 3 iPhone 17s there, but then above that, it could be an iPhone 17 Ultra. Some people were floating around the iPhone 17 Slim idea. I think that's just to kind of separate it from previous leaks. I don't actually think Apple would call it Slim, but it's rumored to have the latest and greatest in Apple Silicon, likely an A19 Pro chip. So yeah, all the AI, I'm sure. This thing you can just talk to and it'll sound just like you're talking to a real IRS agent, but not Scarlett Johansson. They can't do that. That's against the law. And it's rumored that because this is going to be such a high-price iPhone with likely the best display in the business and this state-of-the-art engineering that allows it to be so razor-thin, they'll also be able to launch the first redesign to the dynamic island by actually shrinking it down on the camera side, probably using a method that we've already seen Samsung do before, because we all know Apple's already relying on Samsung for most of their displays. And if Ross Young ends up being accurate about his roadmap, this high-end iPhone 17 Ultra, whatever they call it, would have the true depth camera system underneath the display. So instead of having a pill cut out at the top, it's just going to be a circle, kind of like all the Android phones we've ever seen before. And the craziest part of this report that I'm not sure I believe yet is that they'll actually redesign the camera bump on the back of the iPhone 17 Ultra or Slim as part of a way to differentiate itself and kind of signify that this is not the same as before. This is a different iPhone, a different form factor that's meant to rethink the size or dimensions of what iPhones are, I guess. But the information is claiming that the camera visor is going to be moved to more of the center, and maybe that's to help with the manufacturing. Maybe that allows them to make the iPhone thinner. But if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know this is not the first time we've heard leaks like that. All the way back with the iPhone 11 leaks, there was talk that they would move the camera to be centered on the back. And personally, I have a hard time believing this report, just because as much as I love the Pixel camera design because it eliminates the wobble and it goes side to side, Apple has already been rumored to switch the camera bump on the rear of the regular iPhone 16 and 16 Plus specifically to support spatial video. That's what they did with the 15 Pro, you know, so that when you're in landscape mode, the ultra-wide lens and the main lens are, you know, flat with each other to kind of emulate the human eyes. That's why the iPhone 16 is going to have a more traditional iPhone 10 style camera bump on the back where there's just one lens on top of the other. So for them to just immediately switch away from that on the iPhone 17 series, yeah, I'm not trying to say that the information is making all of this stuff up just for the sake of clicks, although that's certainly possible. I think it's more likely that Apple internally is prototyping all kinds of different things and realizing that, well, if we want to go bigger, these phones are going to get heavier, so maybe we need to figure out how to make them thinner and lighter, and that supports what the information is saying with them switching back to an aluminum chassis on a high-end iPhone, which is certainly weird, but aluminum would be the lightest. And if screens are going to continue to go bigger like this, then weight is going to be more and more of a concern. So I don't think that this early in iPhone development they're really locking in any kind of design. Around this time of year, Apple is probably all hands on deck and focused on locking in the iPhone 16 lineup, which we've talked about before. You know, we get the lineup. The Pros are a little bigger. The 16s have redesigned camera bumps in order to support spatial video, but still 60 hertz over there, and the Pros will probably just capitalize more on AI features and their capture button that's, you know, solid state and kind of acts like a trackpad. iPhone 17 series is probably Apple's more moonshot project, so I'm not trying to tell you in today's video that really anything relating to the 17 Ultra is confirmed or locked in, or Apple's definitely doing something, but the leaks about what's going on behind the scenes at least show you where Apple's mindset is and what their goals might be moving forward, of like, okay, we might want to go bigger and we might want to go more expensive. And that personally really solidifies my decision of going with the 15 Pro, because I don't like this trend. I don't want phones getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I want the mini iPhones to come back. It sounds like they're not. So it sounded like, to me, the smallest iPhone I could get with USB-C, which is really important to me, was the 6.1-inch iPhone 15 Pro I'm recording this video on right now. It's still an amazing phone. I love it. The display gets crazy bright. I think the camera quality is fantastic, and I knew that I'd be comfortable with this upgrade because all the other iPhones moving forward are probably just gonna keep getting bigger and bigger. And if I was in the market again down the road, I might be more tempted to get a regular iPhone 16 or 17, because because those iPhones are going to be cheaper, and it sounds like in a few years they'll have a lot of the pro features I care about anyway. So what do you guys think about iPhones getting bigger and bigger and potentially thinner? I'm sure Jerry Rig Everything is getting very excited about this. They should make for some great bend tests. All that stuff, feel free to drop your thoughts down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you all in the next one.